Hello everyone, back to tuning into the Autumn 2023 forecast from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, it's time to bring you another long range forecast. We are now up to that of Autumn 2023. So over the past 3 months, over the past 10 weeks, we've been doing successive Autumn updates along with 3 season model roundups. Last one of those was released yesterday, and it's all been building and building and building to this point where it is now time to reveal all. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and I shall get on with that for you in a moment. We're going to go through the spreadsheet from Terry, then we will have a look at the analogues based on the leading analogue years that will be revealed by the spreadsheet, and then I will deliver the autumn forecast to you, and you'll be able to see what we're predicting for autumn 2023. So, big video this, epic video, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much to Richard for our incredible autumn forecast gift. Thank you so much, my friend. I love it. I love the forecast gift. Of course, we had 2 autumn updates gifts as well, didn't we? But the autumn gifts, you know, they're always so vibrant, so colourful. So thank you so much, my friend. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Terry as well for compiling the spreadsheet for us. As I say, we'll go through that in a moment. Terry has been noting down week by week which years have been featuring in our autumn updates. So we'll go through spreadsheet shortly. And also we've got a little table from Shrine as well. So we'll have a look at that also. Thank you so much to hashtag Team Gav. Thank you so much to Terry, to Richard, and also to Shrine. Not just for the help on the forecast, but of course for the help throughout the season of autumn updates. Okay, let's crack on with it, man. Just to say, we're going to be live streamed, by the way, at 6 p.m. So if you've got any questions about this autumn forecast, then check out our live at 6 p.m. this evening. Right, let's start going through the data then. The first thing we're going to look at is the spreadsheet. So here we go. This sent through from Terry. Gav's autumn hits. There we are. So I'll just explain how this works. On the date on the side here, we've got the dates from 1950 all the way down to last year to 2022, and then these are all the things that we've been looking at through this season of updates. Solar cycle phases, May CET and Wales rainfall, September CET, etc. We've got July CET over here. Moderate or strong El Niños through their front load cells. Everything that I've been looking at through the season is listed. Terry has also added a column as well that he thinks is important. That is hail or hale, which I will have to do a solar update about, probably a solar Sunday, and get Terry to ask Terry to explain about hail or hale, and you'll be able to see what that's about. But that's been added by Terry. That wasn't something that we looked at ourselves within this season of updates. Other things, we've got the QBO just here, maturing easterly QBO phases. Spring's wet and then dry. June top 10 warmest, etc., etc. Everything we've looked at through the past 3 months is listed there. And so we come down to here. We can see by the X's in the boxes, excuse me, next to the yearly columns, which years have featured the most. So, for example, we've got 1950 here. That one actually is a leading year. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 hits. There we go, the number of hits listed over there. 1951 been pretty decent as well. That had 4 hits. We've got 1957, which has turned up quite a lot as well, with 1, 2, 1.5, and then 1, 2, 3, giving us 7.5 hits there for 1957. 1959 has shown up through here 3 times, so that hasn't shown up as much. So we're looking for the most years that have the most number of hits, if you get what I mean. So for example, years that have, a year might have 1 hit or might have 2 hits. For example, we've got 1967, which does that. That showed up twice in our season of update. But that's not good enough, so that one is eradicated and is removed. 1966 didn't show up at all. Look at that. So obviously that one will be eradicated and removed as well. 1962, the autumn before the daddy of cold winters, only showed up twice. So I know a lot of you would like that one to be included, but that one is oops, my line's got wonky. That's gone. That's gone as well. That's eradicated. Better Yields 1963, that showed up 1, 2, 3, 4 for the autumn of 1963, but that's not good enough either. That one is taken out as well. If we come down to the more recent years, here are some of them. So, for example, we have 2017. That showed up quite a lot. That showed up 6 times. So that is a leading year within our forecast. I'm not letting cats out of the bag with that. That showed up once, twice, 3 times a lady, 4, 5, and 6 times. But another year that's excluded will be 2006. Very warm autumn, that one. And that only showed up twice, so we throw that one in the bin. And only showing up once is the autumn of, let's draw a line, 2003. That one is taken out as well. So you see how this works. It is quite simple the way we work this. So if a year only has 1, 2, 3 hits, that's not good enough, and they get put into the bin. 4 hits, getting there, but not good enough really. So we're actually looking at the years that have 5 hits or more, and Terry has listed those. So we've got 1960, 1957, 1950, 2017, 1917, 1986, 2009 and 2018. They are our leading analog years. So very helpfully, Terry's also listed how many times they have appeared. So our leading years actually 1960, which showed up 10 times, and 2018 along with 1986 to 2009 and 1917 showed up 5 times. Terry's also listed what those autumns were like, so or what the years were like, I suppose. So 1960, very warm June but a poor summer, etc, 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 followed by a very warm autumn. And we've also got 1950, very warm June, poor summer. That was a coolish autumn and had a cold November, setting up the cold December, of course. Wow, 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 wow. So thank you so much to Terry. Thank you so much to Terry Scully for compiling our autumn 2023 forecast spreadsheet. And just confirmation from Shryan for the years that are leading and on top. So we've got 2018, came out 5 times, I had 5 hits, 2009, which also had 5 hits, 1986, had 5 hits, 1970, had 5 hits, 2017, had 6 hits, 1950, had 6 hits, 1957, had 7.5 hits, and 1960, leading the pack, leading the bunch, had 10 hits, which I think is a record, actually. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think we've ever had a year that has come out that consistently. In fact, that means that, in fact, it's had 10 hits. I've just realised that means that 960 has shown up in every single one of our updates. Just received 10 updates, as well as 3 seasonal roundups. So in every single update, 1960 has appeared. And I think that is a record. I don't think, in all the years we've been doing this, I don't think we've ever had a year but has showed up in every single update. So it has to be weighted quite heavily, I suppose, 1960, doesn't it? Thank you so much, Ryan, for that. Right, let's start going through the data then. So here we go. This is how all Septembers combined are looking for our autumn forecast for years scoring 5 or more. So basically this is every year. This is every year from 1960 down to 2018, where they score 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hits or whatever. Every year is included. So September coming out unsettled. Does have a reach down towards Spain and Portugal, but has low pressure to our north and northeast and brings the wind in from off the Atlantic on a westerly or a northwesterly flow. So a cool and rather changeable scenario analog starts off for all Septembers combined for years scoring 5 hits or more. October goes anticyclonic. or more anticyclonic. It is still a little bit of a westerly zonal flow, higher pressure ridging up from the southwest, low pressure is away towards Greenland, Iceland and whatnot, and winds are coming in from like a westerly type direction. So October definitely has a more anticyclonic flavour compared to September. And then November going very unsettled again. This is how all Novembers are looking for years scoring 5 or more. So deep low pressure in the Atlantic, high pressure down towards southern parts of Spain and Portugal, and winds off the Atlantic. It is a mild scene for those Novembers, despite the fact that it has a blocking signal. There is some blocking away there towards the northern latitudes, but not in a position to deliver anything particularly cold on most of these years anyway for us. So a very wet scene for the Novembers. And overall quite a changeable autumn really. That's how all autumns combined are looking for years that are scoring 5 or more in the GavsWeatherVids forecast methodology. Lots of low pressure away to the north, high pressure down to the south, and winds coming in from a westerly direction. So very Atlantic driven, westerly and rather zonal looking autumn there. Right, well, we start narrowing that down a little bit more, but before we do that, let's just have a look at the temperature. Excuse me, got a little bit of tickle tonight. Let's just have a look at the temperature prediction. So overall, no particular signal for temperatures, but it does look a little bit on the cool side just to our east-northeast. That's probably down more than anything to the to September, I would have thought, which does look a relatively cool pattern for Northern Europe. But there's no particular signal for temperatures there. And precipitation, you probably expect it to be a bit wetter than this, but remember it does have a drier October, more anticyclonic October. So overall comes out wetter to our east and a little bit drier out to the west and whatnot. Right, we narrow it down a little bit more. So this is now looking at all year scoring 6 or more, 6 hits. So this is getting towards the key years, which is 1960, 1957, 1950 and 2017. And for all Septembers combined, still an unsettled scene, low pressure still dominating across much of northern West Europe. The position is a little bit different due to a strengthening of a blocking signal away to the north, which does send the jet stream a little bit further southwards. The ridge around Spain and Portugal also weakens as well. So those years perhaps even a little bit more unsettled, actually, compared to the 5 or more. Trough is a bit further southwards, so probably cooler, wetter scene, actually, for September. All Octobers combined, still a little bit anticyclonic, but the high pressure is a bit weaker actually. Just to our west-southwest, low pressure is away up to the north. Relatively drier still, but not completely dry. Could still be a little bit changeable in the Octobers there for years scoring 6 hits or more. Remember, back to low pressure again for all Novembers combined for years scoring 6 or more. This time the low pressure is a little bit more over to the east of the country, and the blocking signal is stronger and slightly more towards Greenland. So that's sending the jet stream just a little bit further southwards. It's possibly a rather colder and wetter signal. Well, not necessarily wetter, but perhaps a rather colder signal for those Novembers. So that's quite interesting. I might even go so far as say as there might be a little wintry potential with those Novembers there. So quite an interesting analogue. And then this is how all autumns combined are looking for years that are scoring 6 hits or more on the GavsWeatherVids autumn forecast methodology. And it's an unsettled signal again. Low pressure is over and to the east of the country. Not only unsettled, but rather cool as well. We bring in winds from more of a northwesterly direction, so it's rather cool and wet signal. Remember, October again is slightly drier, more anticyclonic. The temperature anomaly for the years that score 6 or more actually goes a bit colder than average. So it does sound like quite a chilly autumn. That will be primarily down to 1950, I would have thought, maybe. But yes, we do see a slightly colder than average signal actually on the temperature anomaly. No signal for precipitation. Again, maybe a bit surprising. I would have thought a wetter than average autumn would be likely with the profile. But remember, October does have a more anticyclonic signal. Right, we're getting even more narrowed down now. So this is how all Septembers combined are looking for years that are scoring 7.5 hits hits or more, which is 1960 and 1957. Remember, that half comes from hail, which Terry put into the data. So again, we find that we have low pressure over and to the east of the country for those 2 Septembers. High pressure blocking away from the north. Whether it's 5 hits, 6 hits, or 7.5 hits, it appears that an unsettled September is favoured, and a relatively cool September as well, potentially. Now, October changes big time with these twos, 96, 1957, much more unsettled now than these 2 Octobers. All of a sudden, we've lost that anticyclonic signal, and we've gone much more toward low pressure, particularly to our south. So for northern areas, perhaps not too unsettled, but you know, definitely is a more low pressure, below average height dominated scenario. And then all Novembers combined, still with low pressure in the ascendancy, this time centred in the Atlantic and to our southwest. We do raise the heights up towards the Norwegian Sea as well, which might start delivering some cold air into that trough of low pressure, with projection going on more of a northwest to southeast alignment. So maybe a slightly colder, but still very unsettled signal for the Novembers, 2 Novembers. And finally, this is how all autumns combined are looking for the 2 years by a score of 7.5 or more, and it remains an unsettled signal with below average heights over the country and Western Europe. Some higher pressure is away to our north. And then finally, just to have a look at the temperature findings for this set, have a look at the temperature anomaly. So average a bit on the cooler side again, potentially. And again, no signal for precipitation. It's interesting that there's not really much signal for precipitation coming out here, because I would have thought all of these sets, you know, whether it's 5 hits, 6 hits, or 7.5 hits, I would have thought all of them are indicating a wetter than average autumn. So I don't really know what's happened there. I would suggest a wetter than average autumn is likely based on the scenarios. Right, so the final set is for 1960, just to have a look at this autumn that has appeared every single time we've done an autumn update. Over all 10 updates this has appeared. So this is how September 1960 comes out. It does have a high pressure signal actually, but it's quite a long way from us, up towards Svalbard and whatnot, and we find that we get low pressure in to western and parts of Europe and into the North Atlantic as well. So overall an unsettled scene, particularly so actually more for the south rather than the north. Western weather with that would be further southwards. October 1960, very unsettled. Again, low pressure is dominating. It was a very wet autumn, you can see why, with low pressure dominating. Some blocking up towards Greenland and Iceland. And then November keeps it all going with more low pressure in from off the Atlantic. So as I say, it was one of those autumns where the heavens opened and we had lots and lots of rainfall. That's how the autumn itself came out. In 1960, you've seen it 10 times. You're going to see it for the 11th and final time, with low pressure in the North Atlantic into Western Europe, higher pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland, and the jet stream is down here, running through here, so you see why it is such a wet autumn. Temperature anomaly is about average. Still able to slightly on the cold average side. It's quite a cold autumn actually for much of northern Europe. We're not as bad as that, mainly because we bring the wind in from off the Atlantic, but it's certainly not a particularly mild autumn. Precipitation, quite interesting. So it's a drier autumn away to the north, and like a wetter autumn, particularly down to our south, but it is a wet autumn through the country as well. Makes you wonder how reliable those precipitation forecast charts are, really, doesn't it? Because we know that the autumn of 1960 was a very wet autumn for many parts of the UK and Britain. So you do need to interpret these charts, particularly for the temperature and precipitation a little bit. Right, well, that's it. That's gone through the spreadsheet. It's gone through the analogues. So, at that point, we are going to pause this autumn forecast. And when I return, I'm going to deliver our autumn forecast. So, you go, I'll stretch your legs, maybe digest what you just witnessed, I don't know. And when you come back, press play, and all will be revealed. I shall see you in 1 second. Okay, we're back. Hello. Well, we've gone through the data. We had a look at Terry's spreadsheet. We've gone through the data, seen how the analogs are shaping up. And now it is time to deliver our autumn 2023 forecast. What do you think about that, everyone? Before I do that, thank you so much to Richard for our incredible autumn forecast gift. Thank you so much, my friend. I love it. I love the vibrant colours. Thank you so much. Right, okay, forecast time. So, obviously, we can see through our analogues about an unsettled, wet autumn is clearly very highly favoured. Not got salt and seasoning. Don't worry. No, you can see that clearly. An unsettled, wet, potentially very wet autumn is favoured here. With the GavsWeatherVids forecast methodology. So I think the headline has to be that we are going for an unsettled autumn. I don't think that's going to be a surprise. I think most of you probably would have figured that out as we've gone through not only today's data, but as we've gone through the autumn updates if you've been sticking with them. The question is, how unsettled should we go? How wet do we go? Clearly there's a possibility here that we might go all the way to like the very wettest autumns, like the autumn of 2000 and whatnot, and have a real drenching of a season. I'm not going to go quite that far with this, because we do, although we didn't see it like at the very end with particularly the last set of analogues for 1960, but also to some degree with the 2 years. We do still see within the overall grouping of 5 or more, we do still see a bit of an anti-climate signal for October. And I'm not sure September is going to be quite as bad as that is shown. I do think we probably get a mixed September. I do think it probably will be on the wetter than average side. Could also be quite warm. We're about temperatures at the moment. But I think September probably comes out, slightly above average rainfall. October, probably about average, I would have thought. I don't think we're going to have a dry October, so I don't think we'll get a big anticyclone set up throughout October. But on the other hand, I'm not sure we will go quite to a deluge October either. So I would suggest that October probably comes out like average rainfall. November could be the really wet one. El Nino Novembers are notoriously wet a lot of the time. And so November could be the one that really brings quite a lot of rainfall, actually, with this. Overall, yes, I think we have a wetter than average season. I would say, actually, and perhaps a little bit unusually, more southern areas might have a wetter anomaly compared to northern regions in this season. That might be particularly apparent in September, actually, and then the rest of the season things even out a little bit more, and all places get a soaking, and particularly again in November, where I would suggest that it would be more western regions that probably get the wettest of the weather due to like an onslaught type pattern from off the Atlantic. But early on, I would think, particularly September, it could well be the south that actually gets wetter conditions compared to the north. That is a little bit unusual. Could be wrong about that, though, of course. So overall, yes, a wetter than average season. Hopefully, we managed to avoid like a 2000. Hopefully, it won't be that bad. But there is a prospect for quite a lot of rain, I think, in this season. So don't be surprised, particularly by the time we get through to November, if we are having issues with flooding here. As far as temperatures are concerned, it might actually come away with quite a warmish autumn a lot of the time. I think the way that the pattern is going to set up is going to bring in a fair amount of southwesterly, maybe southerly influences. So initially it could be quite volatile. That's what I'm saying. The western weather could be in the south. That could be like a lot of that could be like a thundery type of variety through the earlier part of the season. We will lose that thundery risk as the season progresses, I think, and we go to much more of an Atlantic onslaught type pattern. But that will be like later on in the season into November. But by November, Atlantic pattern is going to be quite mild as well. So I reckon we're probably going to have quite a warm autumn. Warm and wet is really what I would suggest is most likely for this season. That said, I do think within the analogues, not for September, particularly or October, but by the time we get through to November, there might be a bit of signal here for something colder to start arriving in November. So although I am suggesting a relatively mild Atlantic-driven Atlantic onslaught type pattern, I would say that as November progresses, don't be overly surprised if projection starts going further and 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 further southwards. And we might, later on in the month, this will be perhaps particularly in the final week, maybe 10 days of the month, we might start to deliver some quite cold air into those southerly tracking areas of low pressure, which would raise the risk of wind shear potential. So although it's a relatively mild autumn, I wouldn't be overly surprised if it ends on quite a coldish note, not a 2010, before anybody gets running away with that idea. I'm not forecasting that we're setting up another December to remember. But yes, we might get a little bit of wind shear. This is really what I'm saying, when we get later on into the back end of the autumn. But I think the main issue, the main talking point with this autumn is going to be the unsettled pattern, the rainfall pattern. And we've already seen the first hints of it through this summer. I think since the prolonged dry spell broke at the end of June, beginning of July, we have been in a rather mixed pattern, although things have tried to dry out as we've gone into this August. I think the unsettled weather is still going to be there or thereabouts as we go into the autumn, and it will get more pronounced later on in the autumn as well. September might have a dry spell, so if we do set up the first 10 days or so, maybe in the first half of the month with quite a lot of high pressure, don't be that surprised. September is one of those months that does that. And that doesn't mean the forecast is wrong, so I don't want my inbox being messaged with people saying, haha, your forecast is wrong, if we get a warm and dry spell through the first week, 10 days of September. I would suggest that even if we set up some high pressure through the first week, 10 days of the month, it will, relatively quickly this year break from the south and from the west, possibly in the form of volatility and thunder. And I think when it breaks, we will find increasingly unsettled weather then starting to take over. The forecast is relatively high confidence, actually, for this, so that probably means it'll be wrong, as I've said that. But, clearly we have got a very strong signal through the analogues there and through the methodology. So we're going to see how it goes. I'll just put the confidence at around 50-60%, something like that. Obviously, there is a large margin of error with any forecast beyond a few days, but that's about as high as I would have thought you can go really with forecast confidence. So a warm and a wet autumn is predicted. What did he said all months? Again, September, November come out a bit wetter than average, particularly in the south, I would have thought in September, and then more western regions, probably in an Atlantic onslaught pattern in November. October is closer to average, and October should be the one that gets a little bit more in the way of drier weather, but even that month is likely to have unsettled conditions coming in from off the Atlantic. Drier spells will occur. I will put the likelihood of drier spells to be in the early part of September, and then again at some point through October we might get a run of higher pressure then, but always high pressure, I think, being put under pressure by the jet stream and by low pressure in the Atlantic. And as I say, I am a little bit concerned about November. I think November could have very wet potential after already a pretty wet season. I think by the time we get through to November, we may have a few flooding concerns. But I'm not going quite as far as to say this is going to be an autumn 2000 pattern. If an autumn like 2000 did turn up, however, I wouldn't be overly surprised, if we did get a phenomenally wet autumn. But I'm not prepared to go quite that far with this, due to a couple of factors which I won't go into on the forecast or in the forecast. Right then, so we'll see how it does. You know, we've had a pretty decent run with our long-range forecast since we brought them back for last winter. The first long-range forecast we did when we brought them back was for the winter of 2022-23. That was a pretty good forecast. The spring 2023 forecast was really quite good as well. I was very pleased with that. And, of course, this summer forecast just gone for 2023 was excellent. Perhaps the best summer forecast I've ever done, because I've never had a particularly good track record with summer forecasting. So I have been very pleased with how some forecasts came out. I've done 3 forecasts since we came back from our break from the long range. That have been really quite good. I am due a bad one. We are due a stinker. So you're only as good as your last forecast, as I say. And if this one all falls apart and goes wrong, well, that's the nature of the game. You're never going to get every single season correct. You know, that would be impossible to be able to do that. So at some point there is going to be one that goes right, and you know, after 3 good forecast, we are due a stinker, so keep that in mind, everybody. But we shall see how it goes. We'll do a mid-season review when we get to about the middle of October. We'll see how things are going. If the forecast is, you know, is broadly in line with what we suggested up to that point, we will keep the forecast as is. If it's going off the rails, you know, it's very apparent that it's gone wrong, then then we'll think again, and we'll tweak things or change things for the second half of the season. Hopefully not. And obviously there will be an end of season evaluation as well. We get into the beginning of December, we will evaluate this autumn 2023 forecast. So that's as much as I can do. If you let me know in the comments what you think, is this what you're expecting, is this what your forecast is, let me, you know, see your autumn forecast. Now that I've revealed all, try for you to reveal all. Let me know what you think, and as I said, I'll be live streaming at 6 PM this evening where we will be discussing this autumn forecast. I'm quite sure I have questions about it. Thank you so much to Richard for the amazing autumn forecast GIF. You know, I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. Thanks so much, Richard Shaw. Thank you so much to Shrine Brewing for sorting out all of the years through this season of autumn updates, and also getting that little table together for us that you just saw in early running forecast. Thanks to Terry Scully as well for all of the help. Terry's like a guiding lion arm, reassuring arm on the shoulder. So thank you so much to Terry Scully. Thank you so much to Schreiber, and thank you so much, of course, to the amazing Richard Shaw. Unbelievable. Hashtag Team Gav. Absolutely fantastic. I have the best team in the world behind me, I think, while I'm doing these forecasts. And if the forecast is successful, it's main down to Ben. You know, they make me look good, to be honest. I don't do much, really. I just present the data and maybe you know, let you all have a bit of a giggle sometimes. But it's the guys who work behind me, you know, but do all of the hard work. And I have the best team in the world. So thank you so much to hashtag Team Gab. And with that, I reckon it's time to end things. So how long have I been chatting for? Okay, just over half an hour. Right then, so that's it. That is our autumn forecast. We'll see how it does. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the forecast. I hope you found it useful and informative. And let's hope, fingers crossed, it will be accurate. Of course, the long range bandwagon is rolling on now. So from next week, for the next 12 weeks, we will be doing winter 2023-24 updates. First one of those coming up next Sunday. And yeah, so we're off and running with winter updates from next week, which I know is what you were waiting for, and yes, they're returning, they're arriving next week, and all the detail on what's going to happen with those, you know, timings and whatnot, whether we might premiere the first one, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, so all of that will be coming up in the next day or so. Keep an eye on the social media channels and also on the community page. But for the GavsWeatherVids Autumn 2020 forecast, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you a little bit later on for our live stream. But for this one, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, bye for now, and see you later on. Bye for now.